The Pacers go into Denver and they beat the Nuggets, a huge win for their playoff push. Their offense was great in unique ways without Pascal Siakam. They found just enough solutions, and it's Monday, the last one of the season. Standings watch all coming today on the Locked On Pacers podcast.
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What up, y'all? Happy Monday, and welcome into another edition of the Locked On Pacers podcast, where we, of course, talk about the Indiana Pacers. As always, my name's Tony East. I cover the team for Forbes, and today, what a win for the Pacers in Denver. Their last outside the Midwest game of the season, a tough opponent. Jokic is amazing. He was kicking their butt early. A lot of signs pointed to this being a loss for the Pacers, and yet it was not. Excellent play from just about everybody who suited up at one thing or another in this game, and the Pacers found a way to get it done. A great offensive night without good shooting percentages, good to the style play for the Pacers, and at the end we'll talk about standings watch for the last time. Pacers very close to locking in their specific seed. Their specific seed could be known as early as Tuesday. And there was a key game I think a lot of people didn't realize was big to the Pacers that happened on Sunday outside of their own game. Let's rock and roll through Pacers Nuggets. And I want to talk about the Pacers offense and why that was, to me, by far the fun story of the game. An offensive game from everyone on the Pacers to get this win, 125-120. But it was the defense the Denver Nuggets were playing on Tyrese Haliburton that allowed this to be an offensive game for everybody else, right? It was so interesting the way the Nuggets were playing this. And I don't mean to say that they were doing something stupid, but they were not letting Haliburton see space. He would get a ball screen, and Haliburton would go around it, and then he's immediately seeing two guys. And if he turned the corner on one of those two guys, the Nuggets had a third guy pinch into the lane, so he can't see the floater that he likes so much, right? So all his usual 1, 2, 3 reads for a shot, pull up floater all the way to the rim, were cut off in some way. No matter, Tyrese Haliburton sometimes gets his shots off still in those situations. He did not shoot until very late in the first half, and in this game finished with 8 shot attempts, the fewest of any starter and fewer than McConnell, right? A lot of people scratching their heads at that, and I understand that, but the way he was being defended required him to get off the ball, get it moving. And this should have been obvious super early. There were a few indicators that this is how this was going to go. He didn't shoot for 17 minutes, but early start, the first play of the game, Haliburton gets it to Myles Turner on the short roll. Great pass, right? 2 defenders come to Tyrese Haliburton. He hits Myles Turner at the elbow. Turner turns and looks, and because now a defender has to step up to guard Myles Turner because his man was on Tyrese Haliburton, Turner notices a pass is open. So he whips under the basket to Andrew Nembhard, who's wide open under the basket. Then a defender goes, oh, crap, I got to defend Andrew Nembhard. I was stepping up to defend Myles Turner. So someone else goes to Nembhard. Nembhard throws it behind his back to Aaron Nesmith for a 3 on the right wing. That was a very long, descriptive play to say. The Pacers made a lot of good passes and a very gorgeous one from Nembhard to set up this 3. And it was all possible because of the way Tyrese Haliburton was being defended. Nembhard had 2 early passes to do that. And it was really clear to me at that point, the Pacers were going to be playing a lot of 4-on-3 in this game. What I mean by that is Haliburton's going to get off the ball, and then it will be 4-on-3 because he was being guarded by 2 guys. And that totally happened in this game. I waited a long time to start recording, hoping that the league's tracking data for the game would be available by now. It's not. I have a strong hunch, and I will tweet this tomorrow, that game was the most secondary assists, hockey assists, whatever you want to call it, that Tyrese Haliburton had in a game this season, because that was an all-night kind of thing. And he still had 14 assists, but it allowed other guys to keep the ball moving in a way that was very, very productive for the Pacers offense, and that continued to be a thing throughout the game, even as he was really slowed down. So he had no shots through 17 minutes. That was the latest, per the GOAT Kyle Taylor, the latest in a game this season that his first shot came. I think he would have had 1 earlier, but he got fouled. I can't remember exactly how it was. And he had 2 turnovers, right? So at the time of this, it felt different because the Pacers were losing in the second quarter. They were losing bad, in fact. I think down 13 at one point in that period. They got it close by halftime, and then they were pretty good throughout the second half. But in the first half, this felt like a game of like, oh, is Tyrese going to have to shoot for them to adjust? But the answer was no. They kept playing through that style where it was, okay, if he's going to see 2, he's going to get off of it. And the Pacers trusted other guys to make the right plays and make shots. And so even after being doubled like that, he just kept it moving, and it worked really well, right? Obi Toppin had a three with like 100 seconds left in the first half that I should post the clip of. That was the perfect, here's how Tyrese Haliburton's being defended kind of play. I think he missed the shot too, but he's getting doubled after every screen. And so there were a ton of passes, a ton of ball movement. He only had 2 assists through 21 minutes, and he had 12 the rest of the game. Andrew Nembhard brings the ball up to start the second half because the Pacers realize what coverages are coming. They slightly tweak who's handling the ball. They slightly tweak how they're moving it, and they do a great job of just about every single little thing in the second half of this game as they roar back from a halftime deficit. Pacers' second half stats, they made a bunch of twos, 16 of them to be exact, and it was very much spread out. Aaron Nesmith hit 2 shots, Myles Turner hit 4, Nembhard hit 3, Haliburton hit 3, Jarvis Walker hit 3, Thomas Bryant hit 2, and TJ McConnell hit 2. When one guy is getting all of that attention, you need balance, you need ball movement, you need spacing and your principles to guide you, and it's going to be in a lot of, like I said earlier, 4-on-3 situations. And the Pacers did very well with that in the second half, and they didn't feel like too rigid or too robotic, but I just felt like there was this moment. They took the lead in the first quarter for the third time. I believe the score was 79-78 when they did it. A little bit before. Oh, that actually was right. 79-78 after Obi Toppin hit this 3. It was registered as unassisted. It was kind of in transition. But you could just tell at that moment, even when the Nuggets would score, the Pacers knew, even without Haliburton having the scoring game, and even without Siakam, normally their second most reliable scorer in a game like this. And Mathurin, another guy who you'd expect to be a reliable scorer in a game like this, wasn't really scoring. It just felt like they knew their style with Haliburton on the floor was going to work, and they were going to get good enough shots to keep up. So the Nuggets responded to the Pacers taking the lead and got a lead back, but the Pacers just chopped it right down. They were winning by the end of the third quarter, and they led for almost all of the fourth quarter. This was an offensive win for the Pacers in that they found ways to score and be really effective on the offensive end without their usual leading scorer and their recent and last couple seasons by far best offensive talent. Haliburton was 1 for 6 from deep and 2 for 2 on twos. He missed 2 free throws. He had 3 turnovers. For his standards since the All-Star break, this was a bad Tyrese Haliburton game. But given how he was covered and how the Pacers responded to how he was covered, they really, really found some answers to what was going on in this game. And that is how the Pacers won. They adjusted to the Nuggets' coverages. Tyrese Haliburton got off the ball at the right times, and so he only took 8 shots. Normally, that's not a number that's going to be healthy for the Pacers' offense. What I've said forever and what everybody has figured out by now, Tyrese Haliburton's self-created shots are often better than anything anyone else takes. But in this game, his shots that he could have created would not have been as good. I think he had 1 pass that he made that I thought he should have shot it in the whole game. A couple people I was replying to said 2 or 3. Still, there weren't a lot of chances for him to bust stuff up, but there were a lot of chances for him to trust his teammates to make the right plays or make shots. In the first half, it was trusting his teammates to make the right plays with other passes. In the second half, it was trusting his teammates to make the shots, and they got it done. Specific guys that stood out in this setting, obviously you're going to have to make threes when the ball's moving like that. The front court starters were excellent from deep. 3 for 5 for Nesmith, 4 for 9 for Toppin, and 4 for 10 for Turner. Getting 46 out of Toppin, Turner front court in this game was huge, right? With no Siakam, you're going to need to find other advantages, let's say, in the front court, especially against Jokic. You got to make a move somewhat, and Aaron Gordon is a great defender, but you can neutralize him a little bit if you're using shooting to keep him away from the play. They did exactly that, which very much helped mask 1 for 11 combined from Nembhard and Haliburton from deep, although Nembhard was awesome inside the arc. 8 for 9 on twos for Andrew Nembhard, who had 19 points. Also required in a game like this from Haliburton. Andrew Nembhard's got to be an initiator, especially with Siakam out, and he was in this game. Off the bench, they got a ton of scoring from TJ McConnell. Not the most efficient night. He had 12 points on 13 shots. He had 6 assists and no turnovers, and that made the bench quite good. Jarvis Walker got good looks all night. He hit all 3 of his threes and had 6 rebounds, right? They just got production from everyone, and that is how they won a game, using their offense despite this is probably the most points they've scored in a game where Haliburton and Siakam combined for this few points. I mean, that's just like a off the top of my head kind of thing. They had less than 10 combined. Obviously, Siakam didn't play, but the chance the Pacers win that game with a good offensive night, given what I just said, is crazy. It's crazy, but they found a way to do it, and everybody on this team was good. Carlisle, after the game, nailed it, I thought. He said, especially given the challenges of this. A one-off game to Denver. I think last week Carlisle called that ridiculous, like on the record. It's just crazy. It's a weird scheduling thing. Denver's hard. They went a day early to practice in the altitude. It changes your rotation. They played 3 centers in the first quarter. They were already missing guys, right? They had to go deep into the minutes. They had to change up how they were playing. They fought through the early altitude, how it hits you. And once they got a rhythm and got going, they needed their depth to shine. Without Shepard and without Siakam, you need your depth. You need your depth in the altitude. You need your depth to beat the Denver Nuggets. And the Pacers got all of it in a game that Tyrese Haliburton had 9 points and 3 turnovers. What a win for the Pacers. And they are now locked into a top 5 seed in the Eastern Conference. I'll explain why in the third segment. We got to talk about some other stuff from this game. Johnny Furphy, Nikola Jokic. Whoo-wee. Was he good? And so much more coming on today's Locked On Pacers. Before we do any of that, we need to talk about Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That is where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When most people use Monarch, they realize just how much they're spending on something like food delivery. Now they can budget smarter and save more. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever, too. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off of your first year at Monarch Money. Back here on Locked On Pacers, thanks for making us your first listen today and every single day. Make your second listen, Locked On Nuggets. The other side of this equation, Jokic, we're about to talk about, was excellent, and they lost. That's 4 losses in a row for the Nuggets for the first time this season. Are they going to fall into the play-in? The Denver Nuggets with Nikola Jokic? The Western Conference standings are insane. Locked On Nuggets will have more. And we'll talk about the Eastern Conference standings in the third segment. So much other stuff from this game was fascinating and illuminating for the Pacers. I thought they were dead in the first quarter. I'll be honest. Jokic was so good to start this game, and he's routinely very good, to be clear. I would vote for him MVP if I had a vote. I don't. He had 21 points in the first quarter on 9 made shots. The Pacers had 24 points in the first quarter on 10 made shots. What? At one point in the game, it was 22-20. The Pacers were barely ahead of Jokic. And he was just like, it was so easy for him to get the shots up. 15 shots in one quarter for any player is insane. 6 of them were threes, obviously. Like, that's a little easier, I suppose. But he had 3 assists in the quarter, too. I mean, his start was ridiculous. Jokic scored or assisted, I think, all but 6 of the first quarter points for the Nuggets. And then something else bad happened. The Pacers were down, I believe, 7 at the end of the first quarter. And the way the Nuggets, 9, the Pacers were down 9 at the end of the first quarter. And the way the Nuggets rotation works is at the end of the first quarter and third quarter, if applicable, they take out Jokic and they go about 3.5, 4 minutes with DeAndre Jordan and a bench group, right? And you saw that today in both halves, which isn't always the case. So that's how you get to exactly 9 minutes for DeAndre Jordan, right? All the rest of the minutes are Jokic. So 39 minutes for Jokic. He was +1. Pacers won this game by 5. So the Pacers were only +6 in the non-Jokic minutes. That's good enough to win in this game because they did well in the Jokic minutes. But in the first half, after that Jokic start, where he had 21 first quarter points, the non-Jokic minutes were dead even. Dead even. They were down 9 when he came out, and he came back in with the Nuggets up 9 and immediately got to 13. And I thought, oh, they're dead. They can't contain him. They cannot stop the Nuggets at the basket right now. And that was even a problem for the rest of the game. If we're being honest, the Nuggets were 8 for 31 from deep. That's bad. They still made 50 shots. 78, I believe, is the number. 76 points in the paint for the Nuggets in this game. That's the most the Pacers have allowed in the paint all season. The other 2 games that were even close were Denver the first time in Indy and the Atlanta game that they lost, the first one without Haliburton. So giving up over 70 points in the paint, usually a loss. And they were just getting smoked down low. Jokic was going crazy. They didn't win the non-Jokic minutes. I thought they were toast. They didn't do like a ton better, truly, on Jokic throughout the rest of the game. I thought it was just the rest of the Nuggets getting a little too trigger happy. He took 33 shots. That's a lot. But like, And Christian Brown was awesome too. He had a career high with 30 points. But there were just some shots. I'm like, why is Aaron Gordon taking that? Or why is Michael Porter taking a 9th three? He only made one. Like that really helped the Pacers too. I mean, there's just a lot of guys on that team that are fine players, but they just can't really escape like middling efficiency. Jalen Pickett had fewer points than shots. Peyton Watson had 3 points on 2 shots, 6 points on 6 shots for Strother, 0 points on 2 shots for Jordan, 5 points on 5 shots for Gordon, 15 points on 14 shots for Porter Jr. Jokic, awesome. Christian Brown, awesome. Russell Westbrook even, 16 points on 10 shots. He made a 3. Pretty good. The rest of the Nuggets, anyone shooting was a huge win for the Pacers. And I just thought Jokic wasn't selfish enough, honestly. He was amazing in this game. 41 points, 15 rebounds, 13 assists, 2 steals, and they won his minutes and they lost the game. That says a lot about the Nuggets, but that is why I got to give the Pacers even more credit for finding offensive answers because they were getting smoked by that guy. Absolutely smoked. And they found ways to neutralize him by making him a poor defender and making the Nuggets try to find, I don't know if this is the perfect way to describe it, but I feel like basketball players are all like this. Like when your game plan stops working, everybody tries to be the hero to keep your team ahead. I feel like the Nuggets had a lot of that, where they were watching their lead slip or watching their deficit grow, and guys thought, okay, well, my turn, I'll try to score. And it wasn't working. Like, just let Jokic do it. So Jokic came in the fourth quarter, and the Pacers kept bench guys on the floor. 3 bench guy lineup. TJ McConnell, Bennedict, Mathurin, Jarris Walker on the floor. I could see it now. All the tweets, all the questions. Tony, why did Rick leave that group? And I don't know. I wasn't there. But that group did well. They expanded the lead to 9. Only a little bit of expansion, but that mattered a lot because the starters came in and immediately it bled down to 3. But they barely held on to win. Like that stretch early in the early-ish fourth with 3 bench guys versus Jokic that the Pacers won was huge. So the rim stuff was great for the Nuggets. The Pacers had good rim pressure early, but that was just absolutely crazy to me. Some other stuff. So the paint defense for the Pacers, by the way, just wasn't very good, right? 14 of Denver's first 21 points, regardless of Jokic, came at the basket. Jenny Busick does the halftime interview on the FanDuel broadcast and says, yeah, they got to protect the paint. They've got to be better there. They definitely were in the second half in a way that was huge. A couple other things from this game that were huge before we talk about standings. Watch just some random notes. 1, Obi Toppin was huge. It's my first note of the game. I said Obi Toppin has to be huge today. He was balling. Both of his games he started, the Pacers have gone into a Western Conference team's building, gotten a great Toppin game and won. In Minnesota, now in Denver. 18 Obi Toppin shots led the Pacers. 9 twos and 9 threes on his way to 22 points and 4 boards. A perfect, like, this is a game Obi Toppin ups the juice kind of game. Denver's much slower, and they're like, oh, this Toppin guy's moving a lot. Oh, he can score from anywhere. Oh, crap. And 9 twos tells this kind of story because a lot of Obi Toppin's twos of late, I mean, obviously he's an above-the-rim finisher, but feels like he's gotten a little more in his bag of just like little one dribble turnover a shoulder kind of moves, whether that's his left-handed layup he's really good at on a runner or that like midi-ish shot that he was so good at Dayton. He was very good in this game, very good. And they got exactly what they needed out of him starting for Pascal Siakam and then using a bench group that had a 4 of sometimes Johnny Furphy, sometimes Aaron Nesmith, sometimes nobody. So a lot of times Jarris Walker. Obi Toppin needed to be huge and absolutely was in this game. I already talked about his offensive game. I talked about Furphy again, man. I mean, it's the same thing every time he plays. He didn't make any shots, but 4 rebounds in 7 minutes, 2 offensive and an assist, and just plays so physical for this, like, not rail thin, but just tinier 19-year-old. He's 20 now. It's very clear what he's good at. He's got a nose for the ball. He's in the right spots. He can hit the glass. The efficiency's got to be there. The control of the ball's got to be there. The defensive reads for like every rookie have to speed up. But there's something there. There's something there when he's got the reads he does and the ability he has on the glass. A really important stretch of this game right before halftime, right? Pacers were down 13 in that second quarter. Again, talked about thinking they might be dead as Jokic comes in and tears the game up. I think it was 50-37. And then the Pacers were still down 9, I think. Yeah, 2.5 minutes to go till halftime. They're down 9. And then Obi Toppin with a quick 5-point burst, then a 3 from Turner and a bucket from Nesmith. And all of a sudden it was a closer game. And then a Nesmith 3 right before halftime. They got it down to 5. I think that was a really, really big stretch in the game to keep it close. A lot of good using their defense to get into offense in transition. And then late in the game, I thought a big story for the Pacers was they were just cooking Michael Porter Jr. off the dribble. Whoever he was guarding, they had an easy time just using that guy. He was the only Nugget starter with the negative plus minus. His defense in this game was very bad. And that got a lot of Pacers going inside the arc, and a lot was a key thing for a lot of their success in this game. Last thing, and for the last time this season, I very much enjoy this. I can see the permutations and schedule. It's standings watch. The Pacers have a ton of seeding clarity after a very good week and some helpful results elsewhere. And there was 2 games, maybe even 3 over the weekend that actually will have a huge bearing on the rest of the Pacers season that you didn't even think about. And we're going to tell you about it right here on Locked On Pacers. Before we do any of that, we need to talk about FanDuel. The NBA playoffs, they're almost here. FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, if you run over and join FanDuel, you place your first $5 bet. If that $5 bet wins, you will get $250 in bonus bets. Whew, how about that? Most people love how FanDuel makes betting so easy. Picking your favorite team, diving into player props, spreads, over-unders, whatever you're into, they've got it. And they have so many ways that you can bet on your favorites with those player props, from 3-pointers to steals, assists if you're a Haliburton guy. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into a same-game parlay for a chance to win big. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com to claim your $250 in bonus bets today. We are back here on Locked On Pacers. Thanks for making us your first listen today and every single day. Make your second listen Locked On Knicks, because we're about to talk about them for a sec and then never talk about them on Standings Watch ever again. Not because it's over, but because it's about to be. We've been talking about the same teams all the time. I keep saying we're probably almost done with the Hawks. We're probably almost done with the Celtics, and we are. Nobody below the Pistons matters. In fact, the Pistons barely matter to the Pacers anymore, if at all. It's locked. The Pacers cannot finish lower than 5. 5th now in the Eastern Conference. However, they're very close to not being able to get as high as 3rd. So right now, the Knicks are 50-28. The Pacers are 47-31. That means the Pacers are 3 games behind the Knicks with 4 games to play, and the Knicks have the tiebreaker, which means technically the Pacers are 4 games behind the Knicks. Either the Knicks win one more time. Their schedule is kind of hard, sneakily the rest of the way. We'll run through the Knicks really quick. I believe their last 4, I can't remember off the top of my head, but they played the Brooklyn Nets in their last game. I find it very hard to believe the Knicks won't win one more time. Even if they don't, one Pacers loss also locks the Knicks into the 3 seed. So very close to the Pacers only being able to be the 4 or the 5 seed officially. So the reason this is locked up as 5 is the floor. You might look at the standings and go, wait, Detroit can still get to 47 wins. That's where the Pacers are. And Milwaukee can get to 47 wins. Also, even if Detroit does too, that's also true, except it's not, because the Pistons and Bucks play each other twice the rest of the way. So if the Pistons get to 47, Pacers don't care. They have the tiebreaker over them anyway, but the Pistons winning 47 games mean the Bucks would win 46. And if the Bucks win 47 or more games, the Pistons can't get to 47. So because those teams play each other twice, the Pacers cannot finish any lower than 5th. They are locked into 3, 4, 5 the rest of the way, and they can't actually now finish worse than the Detroit Pistons. The Pacers in any 2-way or 3-way tiebreaker, which I don't even think a 3-way is possible now, would finish ahead of Detroit. So Detroit will be the 5 or 6 seed, and the Pacers will play either the Bucks or Pistons in the first round in the 4-5, or if they sneak into 3, they would also be playing those teams because they cannot play the Knicks. So the Pacers know their first-round opponents, either going to be Milwaukee or Detroit. The question is, in what way will they have home court and all that? Let's run through the standings watch part of this now. The Knicks' schedule is an interesting wrinkle here, like I said. If they beat the Nets in the last game, none of this matters, but they play Boston and then Detroit, and we'll talk about Detroit for a different reason in a second. And then the Cavs, we'll talk about the Cavs also in a second, and then the Nets. That could be very challenging, but the Pacers have some control too over seeding. So keep an eye on the Knicks, but it could be over by Tuesday. If the Pacers lose Tuesday to the Wizards, or if the Knicks beat the Celtics, both look unlikely, the Pacers could be secured into not being 3 as soon as then. So let's stop talking about the Knicks. We probably won't ever again. That was a very long discussion about the 3 seed. Let's talk schedules, right? Pacers, again, 3 games right now ahead of the Milwaukee Bucks. 47-31 Pacers, 44-34 Bucks. But the Bucks have the tiebreaker, which is huge in this. The Pistons are 43-35. The Bucks right now have a tough one against Minnesota Tuesday, an easy one at home against New Orleans, and then 2 against the Pistons. The Pistons have a tough schedule. They play the Kings, the Knicks, and then those 2 Bucks games. The reason that's all interesting is if the Pacers are trying to put away the Bucks in the easiest way possible, they would like the Bucks to lose. And if they want the Bucks to lose, they want the Bucks to play against teams that are trying. And the Pelicans are decidedly not trying. So that Bucks Timberwolves game is very big to me because if the Bucks win it and the Pistons stumble, because the Pistons schedule is kind of hard. The Pistons play the Kings and then the Knicks and then the Bucks twice. I think I already said that. It's very possible that the Bucks just are done, that like they wrap up, that they'll be better than the Pistons before those teams play their 2 meetings. I don't think that will be the case, but it's very important to keep an eye on this week. Do the Pistons stay within 2 games of the Bucks before those teams play? If the Pistons lose both of their next 2 games, which again are against the Kings and Knicks, so tough, and the Bucks win both, which is against Minnesota and then a lowly Pelicans team, those games will not matter for the Pistons. They'll be locked into 6, and then the Bucks would have a cakewalk to go 4-0 to close the season, which would force the Pacers to need 2 more wins to get the 4 seed and get home court. So a very big game on the Pacers calendar is Tuesday night, and it is Timberwolves at Bucks. The Pacers are big Timberwolves fans because if the Bucks lose either their next 2 games, the Pistons can catch them. The Pistons can get that head-to-head tiebreaker by the skin of their teeth. If the Pistons win both Bucks games, they'll both be 2-2 against each other. They'll both be 7-9 in conference game or in division games, and the Pistons will have a chance, pending results this week, to catch them in conference games, especially if the Pistons beat the Knicks. All that to say, those games can matter for the Pistons catching the Bucks if the Bucks lose once. If the Pistons lose twice, though, it doesn't matter anyway. So I think the Pacers are rooting very hard. It's probably the biggest game left for the Pacers on their schedule outside of their own is the Bucks potentially losing to Minnesota because their schedule otherwise is very fascinating. The other part of Standings Watch note is the Cavs, because the Pacers still play the Cavs twice. And I've been telling you about the Cavs every week on Standings Watch because of their effort level being very interesting to me. The Pacers play the Cavs Thursday and then Sunday. So I've been wondering, yes, if you look at the Pacers schedule and just look at the record of their opponent, you might say, oh, they have quite a hard schedule left. In fact, I bet the remaining strength of schedules, top 10 because they play the Cavs twice. Okay, but what Cavs are they going to get? And so some important stuff happened this weekend because the Thunder lost a few games. And you might be wondering, why did the Thunder matter? Because it is theoretically possible for the Cavs to pass the Thunder to get home court in the finals. So while it looked very obvious, the Cavs are about to lock up the top seed in the East, that wasn't everything for the Cavs. They had to worry about the finals too, right? The Cavs are 1 win away right now, or 1 Celtics loss from having the top seed in the East, and then they'll be done with that. That could happen before the Cavs and Pacers play come Thursday. This season series went 1-1 for Cavs Thunder. So the better record really matters between those 2 teams. The Thunder lost twice late last week. They've lost 2 in a row. They lost to the Rockets and the Lakers, 2nd and 3rd in the West, right? So all of a sudden I thought, oh man, there's a chance the Cavs see a window to catch the Thunder. However, a very big thing happened Sunday that I think I might be overthinking this, but might not be. The Cavs lost a home game to the Sacramento Kings. And that puts the Cavs back to being 2 games behind the Thunder, which means it is once again possible for them to be playing for nothing very early. If the Cavs win their next game, and then the Thunder win their next 2, it's possible that come Thursday, the Cavs are the 1 seed in the East no matter what happens the rest of the season, and they're playing for nothing. They play the Bulls at home on Tuesday. So that Cavs-Kings game seemed very insignificant to the Pacers, but then the Thunder lost twice and it became a big deal. And then the Cavs lost. So all of a sudden, it's back to normal there. And it's possible that Thursday's Cavs-Pacers game in Indy could be the Cavs playing for nothing. Honestly, that game could be the Pacers playing for nothing. Both those teams could have their seed locked up. But the Sunday game in Cleveland, almost a certainty that the Cavs will be playing for nothing. And almost a certainty also that the Pacers will be playing for nothing. But if the Pacers get to that game and they go, the Knicks have lost every game they played this week, or the Bucks have won every game they've played this week, they'll have all the information possible to decide what to do, and they might be doing so against a team that is literally just trying to run out the clock on the season. So I can't believe I'm saying this, but the Kings beating the Cavs was a huge result for the Pacers. Donovan Mitchell got hurt but then rejoined the game. There's a lot of that stuff going on right now. The Cavs, a fascinating part of the Pacers close to the season. As it stands, again, Pacers' floor is 5. Their ceiling is 3. Their magic number to clinch home court advantage on their own accord is 2. Any combination of 2 Pacers wins or Bucks losses seals the Pacers into 4 or better. Pat Bolin's putting this very well. There's 8 combined games remaining for the Bucks and Pacers. 7 of the 8 have to go the Bucks' way between Bucks win and Pacers loss for the Bucks to get it. Any other result is Pacers hosting, or any result worse than that's Pacers hosting. And I think the simplest way to put it, if you just want to ignore the Cavs part of this, if the Pacers beat the Wizards and Magic at home this week, they will host a playoff series on their own accord. Don't even have to think about the Bucks this week. We'll see where things go. That is the end of Standings Watch. However, as I've been doing a little bit recently, every podcast this week, if there's relevant games around the league that matter to the Pacers, we'll bring them up. We'll talk about what they mean, how they matter, how the ripple effects all matter for the schedule, and run through it. But it's very possible. Wolves win in Minnesota, or excuse me, in Milwaukee. Pacers beat the Wizards. Pacers lock up home court Tuesday night. If the Knicks also win Tuesday, which would be stunning because they play Boston. But if all that happens, it's possible Tuesday night the Pacers clinch the 4th seed right then. And then their last 3 games are completely meaningless. So a lot of permutations. We'll talk about them all right here. Hope you guys enjoyed this one and me babbling about all that, as well as Pacers Nuggets. A very fun game and a big win for the Pacers that opens up a lot of these possibilities for this week. Getting a win that they were not the favorites is huge. Tomorrow we'll have a guest, I think, talking all things Pacers right now, their final push, key players, key notes, all kinds of stuff like that. Wednesday we'll have a guest, and every other day this week is obviously a post-game show all the way up to Sunday for their final game. And then once the playoffs start, longtime listeners know every day, including weekends during the playoffs, we'll be grinding them out. Let's go. Could be a long time. Could be a long time. We'll see. Thank you all so much for listening today. You can find me on Twitter or Blue Sky at Tony R. East. This podcast has a Twitter account. It's at Locked On Pacers. Thank you all so much for listening. We will see you tomorrow.